An iconic structure recognized around the world, and of course, home of the New Orleans Saints, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and the Saints Hall of Fame Museum, located at Gate B on the plaza level of the Superdome, and that's where we are today for Sports NOLA TV, the Hall of Honors. Look at that face. Get used to it. You're going to look at it for a little while longer here in just a few minutes. Stay tuned for that. I'm Ken Trahan. Great to have you with us from the Saints Hall of Fame Museum at Gate B on the plaza level of the Louisiana Superdome. The Saints Hall of Fame Museum, a nonprofit entity that's been around for 24 years now and open by appointment during the week. And of course, on game days, it's open free. You can make an appointment to pay and come during the week, and you can come on Saints game days and enjoy it, as about 6,000 people do each and every game. By the way, this year's induction coming up of Sammy Knight on Saturday, November the 5th at 7 p.m. here in the Superdome. Former broadcaster Bruce Miller will be honored as well. Tickets are available, and you can go to Ticketmaster.com to make your purchases, or you can go to NewOrleansSaints.com for more information. Pretty impressive stuff with the Saints' 62-7 victory over the Indianapolis Colts. Points, margin of victory, yardage, you name it. It was in abundance in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome on Sunday Night Football. Gee, I wonder how the network felt about that game. Sent a lot of people to watching baseball, unfortunately, for the NFL, but fortunately for the Saints and their fans who had a great night. As always, we have our regular guest panelists who do a great job and have their own thoughts, which you'll hear plenty of here in the coming minutes. Torrance Small, former New Orleans Saints wide receiver, par excellence, entrepreneur, born-again believer. Nice seeing you, buddy.
Keep going. Good to see you again.
Like all that,
hey, yeah, love it, love it. Great to be a Saint. Bad to be a Colt.
and in sympathy for the Colts, he's wearing Colts blue today, okay? That's his deal. He did that to mourn the former Indianapolis Colts, or the former artist known as the Indianapolis Colts. Oh. That's another shade of blue. That's Brian Alley Walsh, who's never blue. He's red with envy today, but it's good to have you with us, Brian, from sportsNOLA.com. And listen, always a pleasure.
Thank you, buddy. Always a pleasure to be here. Great panel today.
Hey, yes. Good people.
As always.
Read Brian's Saints material at sportsNOLA.com. And, of course, our guest panelist today, he was pretty good. He laid the wood to everybody. Oh, my. Just blowing people up on a regular basis. Nice to meet you. Oops, forgot something there. The Super Collider, meet. He just blew people away. Oh, yeah, Everett loved him. You know, Everett loved him so much he became a Saint, for crying out loud. And my buddy Vaughn Johnson was all over the place. Nailed people, hit as hard as anybody that's ever played for the Saints. Four-time All-Pro, four-time Pro Bowler. Inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame in 2000, into the Louisiana Football Hall of Fame, or Sports Hall of Fame, in 2011. And there he is, the young man himself. Hey, he looks like you. Hey, he looks like you. Vaughn Johnson, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Ken. Happy to be here.
Well, listen, we appreciate you joining us. And, of course,
we do.
We're here to talk about, first and foremost, the Saints' 62-7 win over the Indianapolis Colts. You were on the sideline, Vaughn, so you had a little bit different perspective. Was it as vicious as it looked? Was it as much of a rout as it looked from upstairs to you downstairs?
Oh, it was. It was. I was surprised. I thought there would be a lot more effort from the Indianapolis Colts defense, but that high-powered offense for the Saints was just too much for them.
They had a fun time, Torrance, and I know you appreciate that. As an offensive guy, Vaughn couldn't stand it watching that, but I know you loved it, right?
Oh, I loved it. I had a lot of excitement at the beginning of this game. And as the game went on, I started feeling sorry. You know, you ever feel sorry? I thought I had to donate some money or something to help with a cause or something after watching it. It turned ugly. It turned ugly early, and they just could never recover. Too much offense. Their defense just never got off. The two bookends that they have, they never got up the field. Never got to rattle Drew, and he did what Drew does. 31 of 35. You can't beat it. Perfect game.
Yep, 144.9 quarterback rating. Brian, obviously, Breeze had a fun time. His receivers had a fun time. The offensive line just pushed people around all evening long. Brian De La Puente at center. He had a good time. This was just a lot of fun for Saints fans to watch.
It almost resembled an exhibition game at times. I mean, it was so one-sided. You kept waiting for Sean Payton to pull out the players, you know, and get the second and third stringers in. That didn't happen until almost the fourth quarter. I know the Colts could have used a guy like him. That's for sure on defense last night. And you were absolutely right, Vaughn. You go, this team did not show up, and they have actually played 2 or 3 games pretty tight, even though they were winless coming into the Dome last night. Kenny, they played a couple of teams tight, and we all probably suspected that they were going to come in and put up a bigger fight, but they didn't. And you know what, I think, Kenny, you look back on it, you remember the no huddle that they opened up with? They tried to keep the defensive packages on the field. It actually blew up in their face because they fumbled a ball on the exchange out of shotgun, and that led right to a touchdown.
Vaughn, that's a point that you were talking about earlier today, is no huddle is a mistake coming into the Superdome unless you have a Peyton Manning or somebody like that to run it with the crowd noise in particular.
Oh, absolutely. The crowd noise is incredible. And I thought they'd have been better prepared. I mean, they knew it was going to be loud in the Dome. They come in, and the quarterback actually running up to the lineman trying to talk to these guys, and I'm like, that's not going to work. The Dome is absolutely too loud, and it was a tough day for them.
Torrance, when you look at the Colts offense, I mean, my goodness, it's a shell of what we've seen previously, and there are many reasons, and we're going to get into the bulk of that in our hot seat segment a little bit later, but by and large, you're looking at a situation where they don't have any confidence in their quarterback at all.
No, the system is not made for him. They're trying to, as you alluded to earlier, they're trying to hurry up offense. It's not for him. He's not Peyton Manning. He's not going to get those things done. He's not going to be able to check off. He just doesn't have it in him. Not yet. I don't know if he will, but he's not Peyton Manning. I think they need to just change the system a little bit to fit him, to help make it a lot easier for his reads and for him to get the ball out. I think they need to get more to Reggie Wayne, and they need to establish a little bit more of a running game. From
the Saints' perspective, Brian, they did everything well offensively in the game, and some would wonder about Sean Payton's influence on this team and where it really comes in and how sincere it is, how big it is versus being overrated. I don't know what your take is on that, but the bottom line is last night they did everything right. They had every play call that was right, and they were fully prepared. And I think that's a byproduct of having a week to prepare for what happened last week during the Tampa game.
I agree totally, Kenny. I think it's a reflection of how good that staff is and how mature that they are together, in that Sean Payton can actually turn over the play calling responsibilities without, everybody's got a large ego at this level, okay? But I think he's smart enough to realize that he's got very capable assistants who can do a job, and they're prepared. Get out of their way. Let them succeed. Put them in the right position. Let them succeed. Pete Carmichael did call a brilliant game. I mean, everything, it looked like he pushed all the right buttons. And it's certainly, I think it's a lot like Brian De La Puente stepping in 2.5 games ago. At some point you're going to need these guys, and at some point they're going to need Pete Carmichael, perhaps this week. So it's good. It was good training.
Vaughn, other than the long run by Carter, which set up the Colts touchdown, the defense played well. They tackled well. They got a couple of turnovers. I know that brought a smile to your face.
It did. I think the biggest part about that defensive performance, like you say, was the turnovers. It's always good to get 3 or 4 turnovers in a game, especially early, give the offense great field position. Because let's face it, you put Drew Brees on the 30, 40, or 50-yard line, that offense has a great opportunity of scoring points.
Torrance, more of the same. The Saints go to St. Louis next week to play the Rams, who are probably worse than the Colts. Certainly as bad.
Oh, you guys told me what? The Rams scored,
56 points all season long.
56 points all season long. We just finished scoring 62. But I think the one thing we have to do, we cannot go in there and get trapped into this game and look at numbers. We have to go and play our game. I think the Saints go play their game, they'll come out on top. Will it be the same 62-7? I don't know, but we will put more than 30 points on the board, depending on how the defense stop the run. If they can stop the run, because I'm pretty sure we're going to get a big dose of their big running back over there, and we just have to tackle better. I think we didn't tackle as well as we wanted to on some of the plays against the Colts, but we have to improve on that when we play the Rams.
And of course, once the Saints play the Rams and beat the Rams, which they will, then they'll be up against their 2 biggest competitors in the NFC South, and that's when things are going to get very interesting. With that in mind, we'll take a time out here, and when we return in just a moment, we'll take a look at the NFC South. We'll take a look around the NFL and the results of the past weekend as sportsNOLAtv continues from the Saints Hall of Fame Museum, located in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, Gate B on the plaza level. Come see us. We'd love to have you here at the Saints Hall of Fame Museum. Back in just a moment here on sportsNOLAtv.
There's a family name in this business that means something. Bergeron. Ask your friends in Metairie, the North Shore, or on the West Bank. Then stop in and try it out in a new Dodge Challenger with $5,000 in savings. $5,000. New Durango, 0 down and $299 a month. Only $299. Listen up, Ford and Chevy owners. There's still time to save $11,000 on a new Ram. So whether you call us Bergeron or Bergeron, we'll call you family. Bergeron Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. Past Lakeside Mall on Veterans Memorial in Metairie.
Cancer can be scary.
But cancer can't.
Be Thibodeau Regional.
They have the latest technology.
With the ability to detect tumors
As small as the tip of a pen.
Compared to this big at other hospitals.
Always a leader in bringing safer, more advanced technology to the Bayou region.
Their technology is better than
Anywhere else.
technology to treat patients in 5 sessions instead of 40.
and our overall survival rates are higher than the national average.
Cancer Center of Thibodeau Regional. It's not just a choice, it's your life.
Cancer can't.
Keep us down.
Here's some trivia for you. When the Saints defeated the Rams for the franchise's first playoff victory in 2000, who recovered the muffed punt? Hakeem dropped the ball. Hakeem dropped the ball. Of course, it was the first playoff victory. It wasn't Willie Jackson. How about Terry Allen, Brian Milne, Fred McAfee? You got 4 shots at it. Think about it. Ponder it. Punch in your answer. Be prepared. And we'll let you know just how well you did or how shallow you are in Saints history in terms of your knowledge. We're in the Saints Hall of Fame Museum, where you better know the history. If you don't, you'll learn it very quickly when you come. Open by appointment during the week, and of course, open on game days, free of charge, by charge during the week. Hope you'll come. Gate B, Mercedes-Benz Superdome on the Plaza level. Taking a look at the NFC South and what happened this past weekend, the Saints got some good news because Tampa Bay got beat over in London by the Bears. Atlanta starting to play well. Won at Detroit. Carolina, very impressive win against the Redskins. They're going to be a factor in this race. They won't win it, but they're going to beat some people. Brian, I think that's a pretty good team.
I agree, and again, Cam Newton continues to impress. Kenny, I think people started to look for a little bit of a letdown after those first brilliant couple of games. But this guy's playing well. He's playing like a seasoned player, much beyond his rookie status, you know. Yeah,
Vaughn,
I agree with you totally, Kenny. He's going to make a difference.
Vaughn, you've got some perspective, being from North Carolina. How do people feel about the Panthers and about Cam Newton?
Love him. They love him. I mean, but what is it not to love? I mean, he's an excellent football player. He comes in as a rookie, you know. A lot of pressure on this guy, #1 pick. But in the state of North Carolina, you know, they've rallied behind him. Steve Smith, he's alive again. I mean, he's getting him the ball. The defense is playing well. They're going to be a team to reckon with, without a doubt.
And Torrance, the Falcons are pretty good. They're starting to play like they did last year. And Tampa Bay's not that good, which we thought prior to the loss that the Saints had against them, and they showed it again yesterday.
Yes, Tampa, you get blowed out. You come, you win a big game against the Saints, then you go into England, out of the country, and you mess it up again. They're up and down. I don't look at it. I don't see any consistency out of them. But Atlanta, right now, they're playing great ball, good defense, and they're running the ball a little bit more, not putting too much pressure on Ryan.
Let's take a look at the NFL scores from this past Sunday, and it was an interesting week. We mentioned Carolina and Atlanta winning, and the Jets rallied to beat San Diego. That was an interesting lead up to that game with Coach Ryan and Coach Turner. There's a score for you. Who's that, the Cleveland Indians and the Seattle Mariners? Are you kidding me? And then there's the Tim Tebow game where he rallies his team from an improbable situation to win in overtime. He did nothing for 3.5 quarters and then plays like Tim Tebow did in college, and they win. The Bears over Tampa Bay, as we alluded to. Houston, a demonstrative win over Tennessee. When that team puts it together, they're really good. Kansas City shut out Oakland at Oakland. Quarterback situation, Kyle Buller. Come on, guys, get serious. Carson Palmer got in. He threw 3 picks. Green Bay, are they ever going to lose? Rodgers, incredible. Pittsburgh, playing well again. And Dallas, they're a pretty talented team. Baltimore and Jacksonville, the Monday night game. Brian, anything stand out for you amongst the rest of those results?
Oh, let's see. The Cowboys, they're schizophrenic. You know, they're up one week, down the next. Tony Romo's hot, he's cold. You just don't know what team you're going to get with the Cowboys. And yet, I think the NFC East is going to be wide open. The Giants were off this past week. I think that's going to be an interesting division. I think it's wide open.
Pittsburgh's been in the Super Bowl, of course, Vaughn, the last few years, and they look like they're starting to get their act together and play well.
Well, I think the defense is playing a lot better for those guys, and that's the main thing. I think the offense is going to be okay. If the defense can stay healthy and continue to play physical football, those guys are going to be all right.
Defensive guy, you hear that?
Yeah, defensive guy. How about that offensive?
Everything's been defense.
How about Houston's offense scored 41, and they did it without Andre Johnson. Pretty good.
Explosive team. They just have to get consistent. They're an explosive team. But the game that surprised me a little bit was the San Diego game. I thought they had this game. You up, 21-10, I think. So going in the half, I thought they'll pull this game out. To come back out and not get any points in the second half is a letdown, and they're looking like the old San Diego Chargers.
One of the worst 2-minute offense drives I've ever seen, by the way, on the last possession of the game by Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. I'll take Drew Brees for my money over Phillip Rivers. Time now for our fan segment, where we bring in a couple of fans to ask questions of our panel. And our fan question brought to you by State Farm, and we appreciate State Farm Insurance for their support of sportsNOLAtv. First question, state your name and fire away.
Hi, my name is Shirley Johnson. I attended the game last night, and I was blown away by that incredible win. My question is, was that the highest scoring game of the New Orleans Saints in their history?
Yes, it was. It's the most points they've ever scored, 62. They had scored 51 on 3 other occasions, so it was the most they've ever scored. And, Brian, they could have scored a lot more.
Since you're the oldest, you should know this.
Oldest. In fact, I'm barely 62. I'm as old as Howard points.
So check that chair he's sitting in.
But that's right. They in fact, when you think about it, they eclipsed the previous record by 11 points. So that's pretty.
And called off the Dogs.
And called off the Dogs. Yes. They took Brees out late in the third.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
Could have scored a lot more.
No doubt. Our next question, another well-versed fan. State your name. Fire away.
My name's Laura. Basically, I have a 2-part question. First part is, with Peyton Manning being the play caller of the Colts, does his backup quarterback, when they're training them, should he be able to make the play calls just as much? Second part is, if and when Peyton Manning does come back, do you think the flags are going to be thrown a lot more since he's got the injuries that he does?
Oh, a very interesting question. Vaughn, you play defense. You don't like those quarterbacks that wear dresses, so I know you don't like these rules. Fire away.
Absolutely not. When Peyton Manning does return, if you blow on him hard, they're going to throw the flag on. They're going to protect this guy.
That's any quarterback. We don't want them to blow on our Drew Brees either.
That's right.
They changed the game, guys. They changed the game.
They're football players. You know, they got to be allowed. You got to be allowed as a defensive player to hit these guys every now and then. And I'm not talking about doing nothing illegal. I'm talking about they're football players.
You never did anything illegal, did you?
No. It's beyond him.
I agree with you. They should be able to, because those are the same guys that are throwing the ball to a guy like myself and hang us out and get us knocked out. And what do we have to do?
Right.
We're laying down. No fines. Hey, find the quarterback and make him pay the receiver.
Yeah.
Well, now let's answer Laura's first question. Laura's first question was a very good one, in fact.
About the play calling.
Peyton Manning wouldn't, he called every play in practice.
Yes.
He didn't miss a play for years and years in the NFL. Played in how many games, straight games?
Oh, gosh.
It was forever.
About 10 years?
Yeah, I mean,
about
forever.
11,
So,
11 years?
Lauren, to answer your question, no. Curtis Painter didn't take a snap, or a real meaningful snap, except in an exhibition game. And that's not enough to get a backup ready, in the event that Peyton Manning goes down like he's down.
Yes. Now, I had the opportunity to play with Peyton Manning his first year.
Yeah.
And the only solid backup they ever had there was Kelly Holcomb. And Kelly Holcomb left and went to some other teams and started and played well, pretty good quarterback. He was the only guy. I wouldn't say he was so much prepared. He was just a vet. And now you have these young guys that are coming in behind. They never played a game, and when they get in there, this is their first time, and they just don't have the experience.
Yeah, hard to get a veteran quarterback to say, I'm going to go to Indianapolis, and Peyton Manning's going to play every game for 12 years. So they can't get anyone of that nature to come, and therefore they haven't had a guy that could play the game at that level or have a guy prepared to play the game. The Saints, in fact, went with Brunell for a while. Now they got a younger player in Chase Daniel sitting behind Drew Brees, who has some ability and bears some similarities to Brees both physically and mentally. We'll take a time out here. When we return in just a moment, we're going to put Brian Allie Walsh where he belongs, on the hot seat. We'll have some fun with it, as always, as sportsNOLAtv continues from the Saints Hall of Fame Museum in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Tired of dentures that don't fit properly? Our implants change everything. Your implant dentures will literally snap into place, so you can take a bite out of life again. Louisiana Dental Center. We'll see you today.
Does the TV have to be so loud?
For every time you wanted to listen to the TV and she didn't want to hear it, and all those times you couldn't hear your program because they're making too much noise, now there's MyZone headphones, the wireless TV headphones that give you the freedom to listen to your TV at the volume you want. Plus, MyZone headphones help cancel out noise so you can hear every word without being disturbed. Other wireless TV headsets sell for over $200, but through this special TV offer, you'll pay just $19.99. Order now and find out about free shipping. But call right now and you'll get a second set of headphones as a bonus. Just pay separate processing. And we'll also send you a surprise gift, a $20 value as a special bonus. Yes, you get it all for only $19.99.
Call 1-800-407-3880 to get your MyZone headphones. But call now. We're giving away a bonus second set of headphones with all of today's orders. So call 1-800-407-3880. That's 1-800-407-3880.
24 hours a day, prayer goes up from the Western Wall, also called the Wailing Wall. But you know, 24 hours a day, Middle East television, Far East television, and World Harvest Radio goes out around the world, touching people with the gospel. You know, you can be a part of that right now by going to your phone and calling and being a part, changing lives all over the world. You know, prayer is going up from here, the gospel is going out also. We need to hear from you today. Help us support Middle East television, Far East television, and World Harvest Radio.
Here it is. When the Saints defeated the Rams for the franchise's first playoff victory in 2000, who was it that recovered the muff punt in the final 2 minutes to preserve that 31-28 victory? It was Brian Milne, the bartender. You can see that jersey he was wearing that day here in the Saints Hall of Fame Museum in the Superdome. We have the jersey, and Brian Milne's a great question. He's a great figure. And I thought Jim Henderson put it pretty well at the time when he said, he's a guy you've never heard of now and you probably won't remember next year. He'll probably be doing something else, and he really was. But what a play he made as Oz Hakeem dropped the ball and Brian Milne fell on it to clinch that first victory. And a lot of people probably forgot that Kurt Warner and the Rams had won the Super Bowl the previous year, with Marshall Faulk being the MVP and Warner being incredible. And the Saints ended their reign with that victory, even though the Saints had a bunch of injuries on that day. It's time now for our favorite segment of the show. It's our hot seat segment. It's sizzling. It's skewered. He's going to be well done by the time we're finished with him. And we put Brian Allie Walsh on the hot seat with today's topic, which is simply Peyton Manning, the legacy of Peyton Manning, his legacy and his future. Brian, you have the floor.
Great question, Kenny. I'm glad you brought it up today. I visited with Jim Mora over the weekend. Of course, Jim Mora was in town for the pregame telecast.
Good, Brian. When'd you get in?
When'd you get in? The same voice, Kenny. You're absolutely right. It's like we've never left, you know. And we were talking about that. And I just flat out asked him, I said, do you think that he's going to play this season? He said unequivocally no. He did not think he would come back this season. And I said, well, how about the future? Because I could make a case for Peyton Manning to say, adios, amigo. I'm going to drift off into the sunset. I'm going to spend my millions. I'm going to be with my family. I'm going to pursue other career opportunities. I've done it all. I've got a foot in the Hall of Fame, and 5 years from now, or whatever the span is, from the time I retire, I'll be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. Why risk what is a serious injury? He's already had 2 to 3 surgeries on his neck. There's a history of neck and spinal problems in the family. I say, Peyton, go enjoy your life, and you've done everything you can accomplish.
Well,
have fun.
Let's wait. Let's not jump the gun. Here's a guy that obviously he loves the game. Let's see what the doctors have to say. I don't think, for one, I don't think he want to leave the team the way he's leaving it.
What kind of team does he have right now?
If Peyton Manning's on that team, it's a team.
It's a team, but that is not a contending team.
Listen to me.
Mr. Small,
how
you
many
know
games,
that.
How many games did that team win last year?
How many?
No. How many games did that team win last year?
They win 9?
10.
10? Okay.
How many the year before that? 10. At least 10. They at least won 10 games the last, 10 years?
Oh, they had an incredible streak,
since he's been there. Now, if the guy,
you're saying that with Peyton Manning back on that team, that they're going to win 10 games every year?
Totally different team.
They are a totally different team.
But
this is a totally different team because their defense isn't even close.
Mediator, step in here.
Look.
Vaughn, talk defense tell this man about the defense.
Don't tell him what to say. He's his own man.
Yes.
Peyton Manning, in order to be successful at this level, you can't just like this game. This game just can't be okay.
Love it.
You got to love this game. You got to bleed this game, Brian. And Peyton loves to play the game of football. Once the doctors give him the okay,
that's right.
I have 100% faith that he will come back and continue to play because he bleeds this game. He loves this game.
And he will make this team. The defense will be better, one, because they won't be on the field as much with Peyton in that lineup.
The thing about, and I don't disagree with his passion for the game, his competitiveness. There's nobody more competitive than Peyton Manning. My point is, though, is that he's done everything. Why continue to punish yourself or take further punishment?
That's in your eyes.
Yeah, of course it is. Well,
that's your goal.
That's my argument. I can only argue out of my eyes.
We don't know. and some old eyes.
Look at these eyes.
All right.
Check these eyes.
All right, the judge is ready to speak here.
All right, Judge.
After we've listened to all the evidence on hand. Brian, your argument makes all the sense in the world.
Thank you.
If you are in a situation where it's potentially health-threatening for life and you have a family history like he does, you should consider quitting. But he won't, because he's too much of a competitor and he's too good. And he has that belief and that confidence, cockiness, call it what you may, that he can transcend that team into something different, as was spoken about. Austin Collie, he looked pretty good in the NFL. Pierre Garçon, he looked pretty good in the NFL when Peyton Manning was the quarterback. They don't look so good now. And of course, we know our young man, Reggie Wayne, is a good player. But right now, he's just an average player without Peyton. And we also know that Dallas Clark is one of the premier receiving tight ends, not only now, but in the history of the NFL. How many balls did he see last night? Answer, 0. Was not targeted once in the Saints game. Incredible for a guy like Dallas Clark. That's how poor the quarterback play is. Here's why Peyton Manning shouldn't come back. Their names are Linkenbach, Reitz, Poliak, and Ojanaka. The only name you'd recognize is Jeff Saturday, and he's getting long in the tooth. It's not a very good offensive line. He had no running game when he was healthy, and he surely doesn't have much of one now. So it's an interesting debate. It really is. But by and large, I think ultimately the smart move would be, you know what, pack it in, but he's not going to do that. He's going to try to play again unless he's told he cannot play, in my opinion. Case closed. Bang the gavel. I rest my case.
Appreciate you, Judge.
My pleasure.
Oh, wait a minute. He didn't rule in your favor.
It is time now.
You heard him, Brian.
Speaking of good segments, we've had our hot seat conversation. It's time now for our Marvelous Minute. Marvin LeBlanc is a motivational speaker, and of course, his Marvelous Minute is one of the highlights of the show each and every week. I know I get motivated each and every week when I listen to Marvin, and I know he's going to give you a word of wisdom here today. Without any further delay, it's my pleasure to bring you Marvin LeBlanc.
Good afternoon, South Louisiana sensational sports fans. Today's a special day. We have Vaughn Johnson in the house, number 53. Running backs would get hit. When they'd wake up 3 days later, they'd call their kids 53, 53. Go back and look at the tape. If you're an aspiring linebacker, you need to look at his tape and be totally into brand new technique. It's technique we don't see a lot in the NFL because we're protecting so many quarterbacks right now, Vaughn. So now we've been spending a lot of time talking about sports teams. My responsibility is to elevate the intelligence of the group, which with Brian here, it's pretty easy to do. Now, what I want to say to you today is in your work team, let's take a lesson from Geese. Geese fly in a V formation, and the reason they fly in that V formation is because it reduces wind resistance by 67%. We've listened to a lot of wind resistance earlier from Brian. There's a lot of hot air there. In your workplace, when you're in your workplace, make sure that you don't create a lot of wind.
Come on.
Make sure you don't create a lot of resistance. Find a way to rally with each other. And remember the lesson of geese. When that leader of the pack of the flock gets tired, they back up and they put in another flock leader, and that flock continues to honk. So the lesson that we want to hear is keep honking, keep growing, keep living. And I'm Marvin LeBlanc. Make marvelous happen and believe in the future of the New Orleans Saints.
Amen and hallelujah. That's a breath of fresh air from Marvin LeBlanc. And that is no hot air at all. That's a fresh breeze, and I'm not talking about Drew Brees. When we return in just a moment, we'll take a look at LSU and Tulane highlights. Plus, we'll have our Prep Player of the Week and our Prep Spotlight School as Sports NOLA TV continues from the Saints Hall of Fame Museum in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
Toothache.
Gingivitis.
Plaque. Cavity. Tartar. Tooth decay.
Gum disease.
Abscess tooth.
What's that?
A filling, not a crown.
A bridge?
You mean I need a root canal?
Come on, man.
The only thing worse than hearing those words is hearing that your dentist can't see you today. Call Louisiana Dental Center, home of the same-day appointment.
Hello, marvelous people. This is Marvin LeBlanc. Are you an entrepreneur, perhaps a business owner that's just feeling depressed? Maybe you're feeling defeated. Maybe you have team members that just aren't as engaged as they used to be. Perhaps you're a salesperson that can't get anybody to return your calls. It's time to embrace MarvinLeBlanc.com, where we help you lead more, sell smarter, and have fun in business.
There's a family name in this business that means something. Bergeron. Ask your friends in Metairie, the North Shore, or on the West Bank. Then stop in and drive out in a new Dodge Challenger with $5,000 in savings. $5,000. New Durango, 0 down and $299 a month. Only $299. Listen up, Ford and Chevy owners. There's still time to save $11,000 on a new Ram. So whether you call us Bergeron or Bergeron, we'll call you family. Bergeron Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. Past Lakeside Mall on Veterans Memorial in Metairie.
Saints coverage, the most information you'll find on LSU, Tulane, and of course, the best prep coverage in the state of Louisiana with the state playoffs beckoning in high school football, all at sportsNOLA.com. Go there, be there, and make sure that you check it out thoroughly on a daily basis and enjoy all the outstanding written word and some video and some audio, everything you want at sportsNOLA.com. The LSU Tigers are giving everybody they play everything they want and then some, dominating everyone they play. They've won every game by double figures this year, including their game with Auburn, avenging last year's defeated Auburn. And, Brian, this is a team that's hitting on all cylinders. They get 3 players suspended, so what? Look at this. I mean, you've got a guy like Kenny Hilliard. He's a beast. This guy's a 3rd or 4th team running back.
Yeah, you know what? They're like interchangeable parts, Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just keep plugging in new guys. If a guy goes down, it's next guy up. That old saying. And yeah, they didn't miss a beat. Jarrett Lee and Jordan Jefferson.
2 of the best deep balls you'll ever see.
I mean, right on the money. Right on the money.
I mean, you saw the one from Jefferson. Here's the one from Lee, Torrance. As a receiver, right in stride. You love that, don't you?
One thing I like about LSU, unlike the Colts, they have another quarterback that can step in and continue to drive the team down the field.
Vaughn, you played at North Carolina State. SEC's big-time football. You got a lot of NFL athletes on this field.
A lot of NFL athletes. And I think you got to give the SEC credit. It's a tough division to play.
Tigers in Alabama, they get a week to prepare with a week off, and they do it off of beating that other team from Alabama, the defending national champion Auburn Tigers, 45 10. LSU number 1 in the BCS, Alabama number 2, and the hype starts now as the game gets 2 weeks to get ready for it. That means both teams will be healthy, both teams will be thoroughly prepared. It should be awesome to watch the game of the year, one of the games of the century, if you will, based upon the way these teams are and where they rank in the standings. While LSU is, of course, reveling in an outstanding season with the potential for a special ending right here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, Tulane plays in this building and not very well. They got rid of their coach this past week in Bob Toledo. They started well, but a good start doesn't equal a good finish for Tulane. They were playing a poor football team in Memphis, and Memphis beat the Green Wave in pretty convincing fashion despite the best efforts of Orleans Darkwa. Ryan Griffin had a good day throwing the ball. Okay, Brian, they make a coaching change. Is that the answer to Tulane?
No, certainly not this season. Mark Hudson, I think he's got his work cut out for him, and they've got what, 6 games left, right? They say that he's got a chance to be considered for the job. They've got to make a change, complete change, regardless of unless he runs the table, Kenny. They got to make a change.
They're going to hire a different coach. 4 out of 5 to close the season on the road, Torrance. This is an ongoing situation at Tulane. It's more than just a coaching problem.
Oh yes, they have to get some. They have to be able to keep some of the homegrown people from here in New Orleans to recruiting. And the recruiting is not going to change, not going to improve as much till you change some of your requirements in order to get into the school.
It's hard to do that, Vaughn, if you don't have any tradition of winning and you haven't won in a long time, and kids here know you don't win and that not many people come to your games. That makes it tough at some point in time. Somebody's got to change that, but it's got to be a change from within and at the top of the university in your philosophy and your thinking and how you approach athletics. If you put a coach out there with one arm tied behind his back, I don't care how good you are, you're not going to succeed long term. Some coaches have succeeded short term, but then they left as soon as they had some success because they didn't think they could sustain it here.
Yeah, I think the philosophy definitely has to change. It starts from the top down. Like you said, you got to support the head coach. I tell you what, they got East Carolina coming in this week, and that team is only 45 minutes from my hometown, and we get a lot of press on those guys, and those guys are excited, feeling good about coming to Tulane, feel as if they can get a win here. So those guys got to get their act together and get ready to play.
Yeah, Brian, it's a broken record. I mean, we talk about this all the time, and it's the same issues over and over again. And as my friend Ed Daniels says, look, we have these moments about once every 5 or 6 years, where they change coaches again. Here we go again, and you feel bad for the coaches.
You do, and you feel bad for everyone connected with the university. The worst thing that can happen to a university or a franchise, whatever it might be, is when apathy sets in. That is the worst thing that you can have. When people don't care, they stop caring. That's the worst thing. And I think that's what's happening at Tulane right now.
Well, while the situation at Tulane is not one to write home about at this particular point in time, the BCS standings are certainly close to home because there are the LSU Tigers, number 1 in the nation, with Alabama second. Look at the change after that because of upsets. No more Oklahoma, no more Wisconsin. That other Oklahoma school, the Cowboys are third. Boise State fourth with Clemson fifth, the other Tigers. Stanford and Andrew Luck. Oregon, whom LSU dismissed rudely to start the year. Kansas State, Bill Snyder, they're sneaking up, and they play Oklahoma this week, which is ninth. And then Arkansas quietly moves into 10th. Bobby Petrino doing a very good job there. Listen, I still advocate a playoff system, but the bottom line is that this thing usually sorts itself out for the most part. And Brian, I do think that the 2 best teams in the country are playing each other in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, it really is a shame that they couldn't play here in New Orleans, in January. When you look at the rankings, Kenny, there's the top 6 you've got to strongly consider. The 2 teams are going to come out of the top 6, and I still don't think it's Boise State, even if they run the table.
No.
So
they won't get that chance because their strength of schedule will not allow them to.
And actually, you could probably bring it down to Oklahoma State, Alabama, LSU, and Stanford, to be perfectly honest with you.
Time now for our Prep Player of the Week segment, and each and every week we honor a Prep Player of the Week in the metropolitan New Orleans area. And our Prep Player of the Week this week is Anthony Thomas, junior running back and defensive back from De La Salle, and against Lusher, that's Lusher, on Friday. He had 190 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, a couple of 2-point conversions, 2 interceptions, a 40-yard interception for a touchdown, and he also had 8 tackles, by the way, on defense, and almost 60 yards in kick and punt returns. And I believe he sold popcorn and the water bucket out too. Anthony Thomas of De La Salle, terrific young man, coached by Corey Bordelon, our sportsNOLAtv, sportsNOLA.com prep player of the week. Congratulations to Anthony Thomas. He'll be honored at the year-end meeting of the New Orleans Quarterback Club at the Embassy Suites. And it's time for our high school spotlight this week. Speaking of New Orleans institutions, Jude Young made the visit to the new institution that is the old tradition in New Orleans, Holy Cross High School. Here's Jude.
For your first win of the season, a big upset on the North Shore against Fontainebleau, your defense stepped up in a major way, and your leader on defense that a lot of colleges are certainly looking at is Ed Egan.
Yeah, Ed is a remarkable football player. He is 100%er, the kind of guy, he does everything 100%, full speed. No matter what drill you put him in, he'll be going full speed. But our defense played extremely well. But the key to the game was, the key to us every week is turnovers. We had no turnovers, and they had 4. And every week before that, we had 4 turnovers and giving everybody the turnovers. So and that's fundamental all the way up into the pros and all the way down to small Little League football. It always comes down to turnovers.
Now the playoffs are in sight after a rough start to the season. You played a very challenging schedule, and you have to believe it's going to be able to pay off for you down the stretch trying to make the postseason. Yeah, we do. We feel like if we can win out from here on, we have a chance to make the playoffs, and we're real excited about it, and I think that's what's got the kids really fired up. And a little bit about the school and the rebirth here. You changed locations to Gentilly, a beautiful campus, still under construction, but gorgeous already. Talk about what that means to your program and building things back up the way Holy Cross wants it to be an elite school in New Orleans and across the state. I tell you, just the growth has been phenomenal. If you'd see where we came from and where we had to work out of and the things that have happened to us, it's been a remarkable yet an enjoyable journey. It's something that I know the kids have enjoyed and I've enjoyed, and I just can't wait, because I think the future is unlimited. We have an unlimited future, and it's extremely bright, and we're just looking forward to it. Rebirth is clearly the catchphrase here at Holy Cross as a school, and for the football team after a slow start, they believe that the rebirth of their season and high hopes for the postseason, if they can get there, are still very much alive. I'm Jude Young for sportsNOLAtv.
Barry Wilson, one of the really fine people in the industry for so many years, college coach for a long, long time, and at his alma mater doing a wonderful job. Wonderful rebirth story in New Orleans, so much so that they call it the Holy Cross neighborhood now, and Holy Cross High School is all the way back with a gorgeous place, and we wish them nothing but Godspeed. When we return in just a moment, we will take a look at the Saints and the Rams as sportsNOLAtv continues from the Saints Hall of Fame Museum in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Quite a prolific passing season for Drew Brees and the Saints thus far this year, and ironically, they head to St. Louis, who were the architects of that previous record-setting pace, which they still hold. And of course, the Saints take on the Rams in St. Louis this coming Sunday. The records are obvious. I think it points to a Saints win, frankly. I don't think there's any question about that. I don't think there's any debate about that, Brian.
No, I agree totally. I mean, in fact, they should waltz through St. Louis like they did Indianapolis, in my opinion. Even if they're on the road, I just think they're that far superior than the Rams.
Slow down, Brian. Slow down. Now. This is why you play the game.
Oh, yes, Coach.
You know, the head coach was defensive-minded. You know, and coming into this season, you know, they felt as if the defense was going to be pretty good. They still got that big truck and that running back. You know, our defense better get ready for a very physical ball game. They got a very solid offensive line. He's an outstanding runner. It's not going to be as easy as you think. Hey, of course, we hope that they come out and win the ball game, but this is why you play the game.
He hasn't changed a lick.
Yeah, it's true. That's why. Look at Tampa. They had the bad game. They come back and play a good game. We don't know what the Rams going to bring. Now, the one thing I do know, if they come out and they run the ball, they can give us trouble. Our tackling is just not great right now. If they come out, Steven Jackson's running that ball and he's getting yards, he get over 100 yards, they have an opportunity to be in the game if they don't turn it over and if we don't turn it over.
Well, we did a little moral earlier. Here's one for you, Vaughn.
Well, we just have to make sure we don't, make any mistakes.
Oh, Sidwell.
Steve Sidwell.
Oh, Steve Sidwell.
Who's also in the Saints Hall of Fame, by the way. Let's take a look at the Saints' upcoming schedule beyond the Rams game. There it is. We talked about those divisional games. Tampa Bay and then Atlanta on the road. Then an interesting game with the New York Football Giants. There's only one New York Giants now, folks. It's been that way for a long time. So it's an interesting stretch of games that the Saints will have to navigate after they win at St. Louis. And they should do so in pretty good fashion. Now look at those games. I think they'll clearly win all but one, if not win them all, frankly. And if they win them all, they're back in the mix for a bye. Brian Alley Walsh, is always a pleasure. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Kenny.
Torrance Small, you're the man. Stay big.
I enjoyed myself once again, and I learned something about the geese.
Good.
Honk if you want to be the leader.
There you go. Vaughn Johnson, it's been wonderful having you here, my friend. God bless you and your family here.
Appreciate you having me.
Good being here.
For Vaughn Johnson, for Torrance Small, for Brian Alley Walsh, for our entire staff at WHNO, for sportsNOLAtv, I'm Ken Trahan. Check out sportsNOLA.com and come to the Saints Hall of Fame. Until next time, God bless you one and all. Thanks for joining us. Rounding third and heading home. So long.